Hi there, welcome to another tutorial about making games from scratch using C++ and SFML. This time I'm gonna try to make TicTacToe and show as much as I can of the process. I set up the CMake file. Next I'm gonna make a game class. In the game class I'm gonna include SFML graphics header. Then create a SF render window. Constructor, init function, a run function. In the constructor I'm gonna call the init function, the function to initialize everything, and I'm going to initialize the window create SF video mode. Size of the window, let's say 600 by 100, and window name. Then in the run function I'm going to say while the window is open, update. I'm going to create a function update. And create a definition of it. Then I'm going to create a handle events function. Declare SF event while window called event. It's on the lookout for events like mouse clicks or key presses. Else if event type is mouse moved, you want to do something. Else if event type is mouse clicked, mouse button event, mouse button pressed. We're gonna use this later. I'm gonna leave them like this for now. In the update function I'm gonna call handle events every frame, and in the main class we're gonna create a game object and run it. Now if I run, we get a window like we can move, and if you press X the window closes, and this is the event type SF event closed, and this is what it does. Then in the update function we call a render function. At the beginning of the render function window.clear, at the end window.display, and in the middle here we're gonna have some draws later. And now for some SFML and also TicTacToe logic, first the font, we're gonna declare a font, then some texts, say player 1 text, player 2 text, play again text, a vector of int, the board, it's like the squares from 1 to 9, a vector of rectangle shapes, the squares which we are gonna show, some booleans to know which needs to be played, X or 0. And also, since I want to be able to replay the game and to keep track of a score, I'm gonna also say player 1 is X, this is gonna alternate between rounds, and some ints to keep track of the score. Player 1 score, player 2 score. Next up I'm gonna create a resources directory, and I'm gonna add a font to it. This is a true type font. I think it's called File, and you can download one off the internet. You need the font to be able to show text. And back at the init function, we're gonna say font load from file, and the path to it, resources and name. And then for all the texts we have, player 1 text, set font, this, player 2 text, and play again text. And to show a bit of this, I'm gonna say player 1 text set string, like setting the text hello. Player 1 set fill color black, character size like 20, and finally position. And in the render we're gonna say window draw player text 1. And if we run now, okay, I forgot to, when you clear, I want it to clear with white, and now we can see the text. So I'm gonna delete the set string, but the rest we are gonna need. Say 24, and we also need to do this for player 2 text. And for its position, we're gonna say farther right. Plugin text as well, I'm gonna use this later near the end. Position, I don't know yet. So since the TicTacToe grid is 3x3, I'm gonna do a loop from 0 to less than 9. And here, in the board, the vector of ints, I'm gonna push back 9 times 0, so the board is now filled with 0, meaning that it's empty. We're gonna treat it that way. We're gonna create a rectangle shape of size 150 by 150. So an SF vector of this. Okay, then we're gonna calculate its position based on E, a bit of some space from the left, then based on E, some space from the top, let's say 250. And I'm gonna set the position of the shape to a static as to float of x, because we need them to be floats. And I also need to do this in a vector f, I think. I set vector f of what I just copied. Never mind, I need to put parentheses to surround this with parentheses. Fill color white, because we want that to look like the background. Outline color black. and outline thickness, let's say 5. Then in the vector of rectangle shapes, the squares, I'm gonna push back this square, this shape. Maybe shade it into square, but whatever. If I go now in the render function and for each square in the squares, I'm gonna draw it. Now if you run, we can see this square that have been drawn. Then I want to declare two cursors, an arrow cursor and a hand cursor. In the init function, so I'm doing this to that when you hover over square it turns to a hand. Arrow cursor load from system sf cursor arrow, and hand cursor load from system sf cursor hand. Zoomed in a bit. For the mouse moved event, I want to create a function handle mouse moved, and I want to give it the position of the mouse sf mouse get position from window, declare this mouse, call it mouse pose, definition for it. So I'm going to create a boolean cursor should become hand is false in the beginning, and I want to turn this mouse pose, it's a vector of integers, I want to turn it into a vector of floats. Using static casts. I'm gonna copy this and put Y, and go to each square and if the square contains get global bounds contains the mouse was float, then cursor should become hand should become true, and I'm gonna break from this. I forgot to put an if here. And now at the end, if cursor should become hand, then SF window, actually just window set mouse cursor, hand cursor, otherwise set mouse cursor, arrow cursor. And let's test it. We hover over the square, it becomes a hand, looks clickable. Next up, if there is a mouse click, I want to handle mouse clicked. I'm gonna give it once again the position of the mouse click. Create this function. Define it. I'm gonna copy this because we're gonna need it. And now for declare any from 0 to the square size. If squares of v once again contains get global bounds contains this point, then we're gonna look at board. This is the one with the ints. If it's 0 meaning it's empty, then if x is next to play, then boards becomes 1, else board becomes 2. If it's 1 it's got x on it, if it's 2 it's got o on it or 0. And after a click I also want to change x to play so that it alternates between them. Also need to call break on this so it finishes faster. So now the logic is implemented. If I click a square that is empty, the code board from that position, from that square, is gonna become 1 or 2, meaning x or 0, but we don't show that yet. So next, back to the header, I'm gonna create a vector of texts, square texts. I'm using for each square different text. I don't know if this is the best option, but this is what I landed upon. In the init function, we want to also do something with these texts. They are also 9, so I'm gonna do this in the using the 4 that's already being used. Create a new text. Below set font, the multi colored font, the font which you already have. Set fill color black. And set character size to, let's say, 14, or let's do 16. And also I'm gonna set the position of these since they aren't moving around. I'm gonna get the bounds of its of the square it should write upon, and I want to set position bound left plus bound with halved then bound top plus bound height halved, and just so that the letters fit nicely, I'm gonna also deduct a bit and add it to the vector. And now we'll also want to draw these. For each text out of the square texts, draw it. But for now all the strings, all the texts are empty, so we're not going to see anything. So we need to, when mouse click, when this happens, you also want to say square texts of E, set string, fx if x just played, but I should be putting this here. And here to O. And now if you run, you can see that we can modify this, and they also alternate in X and O, but for now nothing happens. There's no game logic. And I also want to now update the player one text strings. To player one, now plays with, this is gonna be either X or O. And actually let's do this with a string. So I'm gonna create a string. S1 is, copy this for the player 2. If player 1 is X this round, we add to S1 that it plays with X, and to S2 that, and for S2 that it plays with O, and otherwise these are opposites. And so the string is 1 S2, and also leave a space, leave an enter after these. And current wins. String from integer. To string, yes, to string of player 1 score, and same for S2. We also want to throw these. And let's see if I give them a position in the init function. Think it's alright. Next step, I want to implement more of the game logic, so I'm gonna declare a check win function, but first of all I think this should all be private. It doesn't really matter for this small game, but so check win function returns a boolean, and for this I'm gonna use another function that basically gives me the leftmost part and rightmost parts if there is a winning line. It gives me the leftmost part and rightmost part, or topmost part and bottommost part. Check win should really be easier, but if they kind of have duplicated code in the end. So first of all, I'm gonna finish this function that I'm gonna call get outside winning squares. Get outside winning squares. I hope that's correct. So basically, this is some tic-tac-toe logic. I'm using this to check every row and every column. This is the way to check for every row and for every column, and it's going to return something different than I'm gonna say -1 and -1 is there is no winning square, there are no winning squares. And also to be able to check the diagonals, this is the code. And I said I'm gonna use this function to check if there is a win. Forgot here to put this. So, oh, not. I see if get outside winning squares is not -1, -1. And it doesn't work like this. A pair of ints that is -1, -1. Because if this happens, it means that there are no winning lines. There is no winning line. Now in the mouse clicked where we set the squares, I want to check if there is a win after the last move. Then I want player, and also if player 1 is X, I want to see if last played was X, then player 1 score goes up, else player 2 score goes up. And if player 1 is not X, it means that player 1 is O. Player 1 is O, excuse me. And if player 1 is O, if X is to play, then player 2 score goes up, else player 1 score goes up. For now it's showing this to be unreachable code because I don't change player 1 is X, but later after you win you can go another round, so let's just declare a function. So and one of the things that this does is X to player 1 is X, becomes this. I'm gonna add more code here later, but now I hope I was here. It doesn't show this as an unreachable code anymore. And also, if there is a win, I don't want to be able to add more complete other squares. I'm gonna put these, since they don't need to happen every frame. Actually, also these. I'm gonna put them in the init function, I think. And also in the start new game function, because the score changes between rounds. It's called start new game, but actually it's start new rounds. So now let's test this. We have this text, and if we manage to fill a row, so we have a win right here, we can't fill these other squares. So when win happens, I want to make it possible so you can go around, as I said. For this purpose, I'm gonna create another text. Actually, the play again text I already declared here, but the rectangle shape, play again, rect. The init function, for the player one, not the player one, the play again, rect. I'm gonna initialize this the rectangle shape with the size of 300 by 100. Play again, rect, set outline color to black. And outline thickness to, let's say, 5. And also position let's say 150. I think so. It like there's equal space to the left and to the right, and also 150. And now for the play again text, let's see if I initialize it already a bit. I'm gonna move these down so they are all in the same place. And its font here, setting its font, and set position to first of all I'm gonna save the bounds of the shape, and set position to bounds left plus bounds width half minus the plugin text width. This is so it's absolutely centered, and this is very similar, bounds top plus bounds height half minus play again text that get global bounds that height half. This only really work if the text says the same, and also I need to declare it beforehand. Set string to play again. Now in the render function, if there was a win, we want play again rect to show, to draw it. Draw play again rect and draw play again text. Let's see it in action. A win happened, the play again popped. I'm gonna move this a bit down. So in the init, I want to give this more space, 270, yeah, 300. And now we should define they shouldn't overlap. And I also want something to happen when you click the play again. So to mouse click, if there is a win we return, but actually we want to check if play again rect global bounds contains the mouse pose floats, then start new game. And in the starting game I still need to change some stuff, like each square or board part should become 0, meaning that this becomes empty. And also for every text in the square texts I want to okay, I can do it like this. I want the square texts string to be empty string. Also need to add x to play is true. And I don't know why this says unreachable code. I think it should be fine. Now if we test, we can see that after we complete one of these we get to play again. I click the play again. Player 1 got the win and the board is set, and now player 2 starts with X, so it's fair. So now player 2 won, the points are even, and so on and so on. And now for the last part, the game is already playable, fully playable, but one more thing I want to also draw a line when there's a line made, a line of X is made. I want to to cut a line across them. So for that, also when a win has happened, and for this I'm gonna just paste the code. This needs to include math. So this function I said returns a pair of ints and is the positions from the board of the outermost winning squares. Like if I have the first row full, I want to return the first square on the first row and the third square on the first row. And I was here. I calculate the start position and the end position of the line, and calculate the length of the line. A bit of math. I create a rectangle shape. There is a way to make lines in SFML, but they are 1 pixel thick, so you have to create a rectangle shape if you want to create them thicker. Some rotation depending on if there is a diagonal line or vertical or horizontal, and this is just going from angles to degrees or the other way. I don't remember exactly. So with this code in mind, I'm gonna run once again, and as you can see, a nice line play again, diagonal line, vertical line, and you can play this game almost endlessly, and it's kind of fully operable, fully playable, and that's about it. If you want maybe some tutorials to simple games, I could try to do something, or you need help with anything else. Also reminder, maybe leave a like on the video, maybe sub, maybe leave a comment. Thank you, that's it, bye.